Hello everyone. For my persuasive speech, I have decided to talk about donating blood and hopefully persuade you to get up and go out and donate blood because it's extremely helpful. So just for a second, I want you to put yourself in a blood donee's position. Just imagine that you are undergoing surgery for something, you just got into an accident, you have some kind of disease that requires you to have blood donations, have transfusions all the time. And imagine if you couldn't get that blood and your life depended on it, but nobody was donating. And your life would be at serious risk because of a lack of blood supply. And then now imagine like a family member or friend. And that's one of the scariest things, and I've personally never had to live through it so far, and I consider myself extremely lucky for that. But I can't even imagine for all of the people who do. And just to give you an idea of how much blood is in need, it's every 2 seconds someone in the U.S. needs blood, and 1 in 7 people who enter into a hospital are going to need blood. And so there's an extremely high demand for it, and it's extremely important for anybody who is capable of donating blood to actually do it. And obviously, one of the major things is that it benefits donees, the people receiving the blood, but it also benefits donors, who are the people who are giving the blood, which would be us. And there are many benefits for donors, including it helps your blood pressure because it temporarily removes 1 of the pints of blood, and a normal adult human has 10 pints in their body. So by taking away that 1 pint, it's easier for your body to push the blood through because there's not as much, so it lowers the blood pressure, which can be good for you. Not to mention, it's a huge contribution to society, and it's so rewarding when you do donate blood because 1 donation saves 3 lives, or it can save up to 3 lives. And you're a hero at that point. That's just amazing. I actually donate blood all the time, as much as I can. And I donated blood February 11th of this year, and I got an email through the organization that I donated with, and they told me that my blood went to Long Island College Hospital in Brooklyn, New York, which means it either went to a laboratory to do research on and to help with trying to aid in future blood diseases and cure different diseases, or it went directly to a patient, to a transfusion, whether they were undergoing surgery or are living with a disease or got into an accident. And for me personally, that's amazing that I know where it went. Obviously, I don't know who it went to, but I know that it went to someone, and it went to the betterment of society because it's not just sitting in some blood bank somewhere. And obviously, just think back again to that hypothetical situation that I gave you at the very beginning with saving yourself in the future potentially, or saving a family member, a friend. That's a huge benefit. You could save someone else's, and that's just amazing. And then obviously I've already talked about how it benefits the donee. People who need blood don't choose to need blood. They don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go get into an accident so that I need a transfusion. It's not their choice for the most part, and if they need a surgery, it's probably because it's going to save their lives, especially if they need a transfusion. So it's not really fair for them to not have the supply that they need in order to save their lives. And I have a testimony. It's a woman named Christine Douglas. She lived in Florida, and this is a great example of exactly what I'm talking about. There was a car accident she was involved in because there was a tornado and a tree fell on her car and it pinned her legs, and she needed a lot of surgeries and a lot of blood transfusions, and it said that she required more than 150 units of blood, which is a lot of blood, and it saved her life. Without that blood, she would not have lived, and she wouldn't have made it through those surgeries. or through that accident. So I think that that's amazing that people have saved her life just by simply donating blood. And that's just one example. There are tons of others, ranging from babies all the way up to grandparents. And it's always important to think that they could be your grandparents or your siblings, or your cousins, or your children one day. And that's something that should just make you want to donate blood automatically, is the fact that you could save someone else's sister or brother or aunt or uncle. And I already mentioned how much blood is needed. Every 2 seconds someone needs blood. But here are a few more statistics just to exemplify how much blood is actually needed. More than 44,000 blood donations are needed every day in America. 4.5 million Americans will need a blood transfusion each year. And that is a ton of blood. So it's extremely important that anybody who's able to donate does donate. And I actually have this statistic that says only 37% of the U.S. population is eligible to donate blood, but less than 10% do annually. And the fact that only 10% of people, or less than 10% of people, are donating blood is terrifying. All 37% of those people who are eligible should be donating every 8 weeks when they can, because we need it. And there's always a high demand and a very low supply, especially for different types of blood. There's A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative, and O positive and O negative. And each different type of blood requires its exact matching, with the exception of the O's, which are the universal donor and the universal, it can take any blood. So just a few more statistics. The number of blood donations collected in the U.S. in a year is 16 million. The number of blood donors in the U.S. in a year is 9.5 million. And the number of patients who receive blood in the U.S. in a year is 5 million. And then just one more, this one really is important. It's blood cannot be manufactured, and it can only be donated. Which means if everyone stopped donating blood, there would literally be nothing that we could do, because it can't be made. It has to be donated. So it's extremely important that every person who is eligible actually gets up and donates every 8 weeks as much as possible. And then my final point, and you might have been thinking this the entire time, is that I don't want to donate blood because I'm afraid of needles, or I'm afraid of blood, or I'm afraid that I might black out while I'm donating blood. And this is such an easy fix. First of all, if you're afraid of needles, you really don't even see the needle for most of the part. It's hidden up until they actually put it in your arm and you can look away. And then it's covered up once it's in. And my best friend is terrified of needles, and she donates blood every 8 weeks like she's supposed to, because she knows and understands how good it is. And I just think that people in general need to look past that fear, because you don't have to look at it. It's not a huge part. You don't even have to think about it. So that's easily avoidable. And then people who say they're afraid of blood, I mean, it courses through our body every day, and the benefits of donating blood clearly outweigh the cons of not donating blood and being afraid of it. And then as far as blacking out, some people do, but that's pretty easy to avoid, because all you have to do is make sure that you have enough iron, make sure you've eaten, and you have enough water so that your blood is actually flowing better. So as long as you take those precautions before you donate, then you have no reason to worry about blacking out. And although it is scary, they do have trained professionals as you're donating blood to handle that situation if it arises. So in conclusion, the benefits to both the donors and the donees are innumerous. I mean, it literally saves people's lives, and using a bad excuse, such as that you're afraid of needles, isn't even okay. It's just, everyone needs to donate blood because it's a necessity. We can't make it, and people need it. So I really encourage you to get up and go out and donate blood.